The GR Corolla is kind of the hot car at the moment, but there are a lot of complaints about overheating issues. This build fixes that. So of course we're at SEMA today and we are in the Maxxis tire booth. I'll talk about the cooling in just a second, but this car has got the brand new Victra Sport VR2s on it, and the aero is from SARD, which is a Japanese company. And if you're familiar with GR Garage, these parts are sort of officially sanctioned by Toyota in Japan. And this is a pretty mild build in terms of engine. There's no engine mods, but there are some cooling mods, and we do have quite a bit of suspension stuff here too. So let's get into it. So these Maxxis VR2 tires sport, these are 200 tread wear, and this is a 365, 35, 18 size here. And we are in Titan 7 wheels. These are 18-inch wheels. And what I like about the VR series, I used to drive on the VR1s, they are very sticky tires. They're very competitive with any 200 tread wear tires if you're a track guy, but they are not quite as expensive, so a little bit more value on these. So let's look at these incredible brakes here. These are the SX parts, the AP Racing Pro 5000R 9669 calipers, and they've got electroless nickel plating. So check out that, super shiny. And these have CSG pads on them. These are super thick CSG pads. I don't know if you can see them right there, but the whole idea is that there is so much thermal capacity with this brake system that you can drive on these Counterpsace Garage CP pads, which are a track/street pad, and there's going to be no noise. You don't have any of the downsides of a full-on racing pad. You have all of the benefits of incredible braking. And this entire kit actually saves you weight over the stock rotors. 1.2 pounds less per corner. And these rotors are unbelievable. These are 372 millimeter 72 vein two-piece rotors. And these have a lot more thermal capacity than the factory rotors. So you're going to have a lot more ability to do a lot of braking over and over and over again on the track without any fade. In the rear, we have stock calipers and we have slotted rotors as well. And they're ET plus 28. So these are a non-stagger setup. This is a square setup, and these are stunning looking wheels. And I really like how this whole package just kind of fills out the car. So this is a full SARD aero kit here. This looks like carbon fiber. It is really nice. We got a front lip, we got these side skirts, we have a hatch spoiler and a wing, which is properly drilled in. This is properly mounted into the hatch, and it is supported on the glass. And all of this aero is fully functional. This is not just for looks, but this actually provides significant downforce. Counterpsace Garage, which is also the sponsor of this car, is going to be doing some testing with this vehicle, and I'm actually going to be following the testing and hopefully bring you guys along. Now, if you're a fan of these cars, you're probably familiar with the fact that they can overheat on track, and so this car fixes that. What we got is a 555 engineering cooling kit. We actually have two. This is the transfer case cooler. This is, of course, is on the passenger side, and this cools the transfer case, but it also has a thermostat in here too, which is set at 180 degrees. And so that means you can drive in the winter or you can drive on the freeway and still retain your fuel economy because it's not cooling all the time. But when it does start cooling, it opens up at 180 degrees and it works on the transfer case and significantly reduces the temperature. Additionally, it eliminates the front wheel drive limp mode that happens when you're on track, because it also has a standalone Cyvex ECU, which is in the back. This is the all-wheel drive ECU. And so now we've got independent control of the all-wheel drive system, and it's not going to default to front-wheel drive anymore. So this completely cures the whole issue of the car going into limp mode on track. We also, on the other side, have an oil cooler here, also from 555. So you can see this little grill here is to protect the cooler, which is sort of sitting in the back there. Not really sure that you can see that. Same on both sides. And now we're going to get to these SARD fenders. So these are actually completely functional. Let me explain how they work. What we've got here in front of the tire, we have extraction. Don't know if you can see that, but we have these two mesh pieces which actually extract the hot air from the coolers. They're on both sides of the car. And we also have additional extraction of hot air from the engine courtesy of these fenders. So these are completely functional too. You can see right in there, you can see they're extracting hot air. So we're doing a lot to get all the heat out of this engine, which makes 300 horsepower, this 1.6 liter, 3-cylinder engine, and this thing's a little cracker. Now, if you're familiar with this car on track, you know that this thing will tend to understeer quite a bit, and so the suspension setup in here is designed to help with that. we have Cusco TNS coilovers. They're 12K springs in the back, they're 8K in the front, and they are two-way adjustable. So up front, it's inverted, and this is a monotube damper design. So what we're going to be doing is taking this out on track in the near future and seeing if we can get more rotation out of this car than it does stock, and I think that's probably going to work pretty well. Now, of course, because we have traditional McPherson struts up front, we've got some camber plates up front. This whole package is really optimized for track driving, but it is going to be a lot more comfortable driving around in the street, because if you're familiar with the GR Corolla, it is absolute bouncy house driving around on the stock suspension on the street. It is not as compliant as you would like for driving around and getting groceries. So the ride quality in this car is significantly improved over the stock car. It does not have that incredible over rebound situation. This is going to be a lot more compliant. Also, in terms of suspension, up front we have SPL front sway bar links, also rear sway bar end links too. And in the rear, we have upper camber arms, so you can get a little bit of camber out of this thing too, so it's going to be a lot more adjustable. We have an anti-gravity battery in the back. We're running multiple fluids, 300V oil, engine oil, 300 gear oil, and RBF 700 brake fluid. We have a Fujitsu Grow exhaust system, cat back, and these tips are actually wired on. Nice attention to detail here. The interior has some changes too. We have these Bride Zero VS seats. Look at how deep these are. These are really going to be something that you can use on the track. We also have Bride rails here too. And the steering wheel, which is from MadTrace, all the buttons on here have been remapped so that the OEM functionality for all the OEM buttons still works. This has been verified and tested. There's no airbag light. Everything in here works perfectly. So you're going to be able to remap these buttons any way you want, but of course the OEM functionality has been retained. Power in here is stock, so you're going to be able to take this to a track day and not run into any issues with these additional coolers, but you're going to have a ton of grip, and this thing is going to be a ton of fun to drive. We got Cusco tow hooks front and rear, which are actually designed for towing, and we have an anti-gravity battery, which is going to give you a lot more weight reduction than the factory battery does, and also you can leave this car sitting for a long time and your car is still going to start up. Unlike a lot of SEMA builds, this one is fully functional, and I'm going to be following along this build. Counterpsace Garage has got all these parts available, and they're on the website right now, but I'm going to be following this build as they take it out to the track and as they validate and test and do all the typical testing that these guys do to make sure that everything works as advertised. So if you want to see that, please go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.